Hello again, welcome back to the Vivec ShedTalk. I guess you guys seem to enjoy this. I'm going to go try and do one at least a week because I think it's important for me to talk about stuff that I can't really put into a trip report video or any of the other content I do. This helps for you to get to know me as a person, the guy behind the reports. And it also gives me a platform to talk about potential harm reduction. I want to do an episode on the untold dangers of psychedelics. But I thought it'd be interesting for me to talk here about my general fascination with psychedelics, which I've touched upon before in many videos. If you check out my personal stories playlist, there's various anecdotal pieces of information in there that clue you into how I got into all this stuff. But here we go, here's the very direct answer. So I think it all begins when I was a child, you know. I'm a very neurodivergent person. Don't exactly know what's going on with me really. I've never pursued, say, an autism diagnosis or ADHD diagnosis. I definitely have elements of both, but I don't really know what's going on. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how to diagnose myself. I've been trying to figure out what the hell's going on in here for 26 years. But I just forgot my own age. Yeah, I'm 26. But yeah. Definitely not your average sort of person. I've always been weird, and I've always loved weird elements of reality. I've never fit in the mold at all. So when I was a child, I'd always question reality. I'd question what consciousness is, what life is. At a very young age, I remember this is probably my very first sort of philosophical question I posed to myself, and I think I was about 6 years old, and I just remember being in the car with my mum, and I was sort of dozing off, daydreaming like you do when you're younger. This was before phones took over, so I wasn't in the dopamine feedback loop back then. I didn't even have a Game Boy either, so I was forced to just stare out the window and contemplate life, because that was the next most entertaining thing to do, other than, you know, when you're looking out the window when you're a kid and you daydream and you're imagining loads of mad shit happening, like people running around, fucking cartoon characters jumping off the buildings and all. That's what I used to do. Maybe no one else does that. But then there was a moment where, and I can remember the exact way my consciousness articulated this. It was like the first time it's weird to say higher self, because that invokes a lot of the woo-woo that I think turns some people off from this stuff, but it must be said that my ego was forming at that age, but then there was a glimpse of something a bit different, like a self-reflective element of consciousness. So what it was that I said to myself, if I am who I am, then who is everybody else? And I guess that sentence in itself isn't exactly mind-blowing, but for me at a young age, that was the first time I'd ever contemplated, like, what really is this bubble, this field of perception. Obviously, I had no idea what any of these words meant and wasn't using them at that point in my life, but that was the first time I ever thought, like, right, I'm me, Vivec. Obviously not actually called Vivec, but I am me, my ego, my personality, and then there's another person who's got a personality, but what's driving them? What is this? What's the operating system? What's consciousness? And that's the first time I ever thought, like, right, so there's this thing called consciousness. Is my consciousness the same as theirs, or are they their own unique individual? And that's when I sort of began down the rabbit hole of what really is this going on behind the eyes. And I just kept saying the same thing, like, if I am what I am, then what is everything else? And then that sort of led me down the rabbit hole as a youth of being like, where does my consciousness begin and reality begin, like physical reality? Where's the separation? Is there a separation? These are some pretty trippy thoughts to have when you're in primary school, and it did sort of derail me as a youth, because I got so hung up on, like, what is this? But in quite a beautiful sense, this is what's led me down the path to doing this and becoming fascinated in psychedelics, because So for a very long time when I was younger, I was super introverted, super withdrawn. I didn't know how to socialise, and I felt very detached from other people because I was super neurodivergent, quite clearly. As anyone who listens to me or knows me in real life, or even just any of you guys who've got to know me, like, I'm definitely not your average person, which is great in a sense, because I don't think I could do this if I was a normie. I don't like that word because it has a lot of negative connotation to it, but just not neurotypical person isn't really, it may be interested in psychedelics but won't go down the rabbit hole as far as I've done with having these mystical breakthroughs and enlightening experiences. Again, I want to use these terms with air quotes because I don't want people to think, oh, I'm enlightened or I'm this or I'm that, because I'm no different from any of you. We're all in this together, and I'm not above you for having it. This is a problem again. There's a spiritual ego that forms with a lot of people who take psychedelics and get into this stuff. They think, oh, I've sinned beyond the veil, and now I'm above all these people, these monkey-minded people who just run around in circles and chase around. And it's like, no, your duty, sort of seeing the other side, is to try and help people break out of the illusion of, okay, I'd say the toxicity of the materialist paradigm, because obviously it's no problem if you have a materialist perspective at all, as long as, again, I've said this many times, as long as it makes you happy and you're fulfilled and you're doing good in your own life and being the best possible version of yourself, and that's sound. But if you're bogged down with materialism and the fact that you just keep chasing pleasure, you just keep chasing material goods, you're at a point in your life where you feel like you're stagnating and you're not growing, then that's a problem. And it's helpful for us who've gone deep into the abyss of consciousness and the wacky worlds that are out there outside of this sort of finite space, if you want to call it that. It's sort of our job to help people marry spirituality and materialism and move on to the next chapter of their lives, in a sense. So, getting back to the point of the video, I'm so bad at this. So, for ages I was just really withdrawn, and I was always obsessed with just reality, humanity, the universe, every single thing, astrology, I guess astrology, astronomy, history, psychology, just culture, art, everything. What is really going on? There's this massive grand thing that we're in, and I want to know all of it, and I'm obsessed with it, and I never really felt the need to leave my house or interact with people and have like super deep social relationships, which definitely shot myself in the foot for a very long time, because I think that's a crucial element of the human experience, is connecting with others. And when you're young, it can be very easy to fall off the path and just become stuck on one thing. This is sort of the problem with becoming like autistically fixated on one aspect of reality or life in general. You can really derail your life by just getting stuck on one thing and not building on the foundational aspects of your life. But like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're going up it, and the top bit is like self-actualization, in a sense. The more intellectual stuff comes towards the top, and existential stuff. But you can't really have that nailed down if you don't have the baseline of just like food, relationships, sex, socialization, all that stuff, and shelter, etc. You've got to get that sorted before you can start moving up to the top and getting into these kooky realms of infinite consciousness and self-actualization and enlightenment and all that. So the problem with me was I was focusing on the top stuff and I wasn't doing the bottom stuff, so I wasn't massively very healthy, I wasn't going outside. I was just a bit of a mess on a human level. But intellectually, I guess, I was reaching some really profound levels, but I was lacking on the lower stuff. So then when I started what really happened to me when I started propagating psychedelics was the first time I ever went to a rave and took MDMA. I bet a lot of you out there, the way you got into a lot of this is actually through partying, raving, socializing, just being a bit of an excitement freak, with which substances definitely come into play in that field. So it was a really big move for me doing this, because throughout school all the way from the primary school up to year 11, leaving school, I was very introverted, didn't drink, didn't go out and do anything, and then I started like getting partying a bit and drinking and that. In a sense, it was alcohol that led me down the path to enlightenment, in a sense. Again, not enlightened, but it's a good word to use in this context. So yeah, alcohol sort of brought out it lowered my inhibitions and sort of allowed me to be more of myself, in a sense. Obviously, I wouldn't encourage you to use alcohol as a spiritual tool, although it can be used in a constructive way, especially if you're very introverted and sort of withdrawn. It can let you let loose a bit and let go. Obviously, don't be getting so pissed you're chundering on your carpet and that, because I've done that many a time, and yeah, my mum wasn't very happy, rightly so, because she had to clean it up, and I was too stupid to know how to even clean up my own vomitus. Oh, I was so unbelievably inept as a youth. But it's all part of the process, isn't it? It's all part of the plan, the grand plan of awakening, in a sense. So basically, going to these parties, socialising with people, opening myself up a bit more, letting loose, and then it all culminated when I just put my foot down. I was like, right, I need to seriously just push myself much money penny, get myself out there and really do something that I fear, and that was going to a rave, going to a super extroverted. Planes are coming over, sorry about that, hopefully they're not dropping any bombs on me. Going to a super extroverted setting, like a rave, something I'd never done before and didn't even think I'd like. And I remember going in the car with my mates. My mate's mum was picking us all up. The year above me, the year 12s, I was in the year 13s. I was in year 12. I was in sixth form, which is like what you can do after you finish high school in the UK, and then sort of leads you on to either college, university, apprenticeships, whatever, or just getting a job in general. And I went there to sixth form, and I was like, right, I started interacting with sort of the more socialite, party animal type people, pushing myself out there, because I was coming out of my shell, and people noticed it. And I was like, oh right, I'm feeling a bit more confident in myself, like maybe I've got some extroverted qualities. And then went to this rave. Mate of mine in sixth form sorted me out with these dids. I had no idea what dids are. They're basically MDMA pills. And I was just like, yeah, go on then, whatever, I'll have them. I'd smoked weed like in the past year, and that sort of opened me up again. That was another catalyst for taking me down this journey, because again, what are these substances doing? They're altering your state of consciousness from your baseline to something unknown, and that's where the fascination really deepens with consciousness work and psychedelics, is whenever you take something like cannabis or even alcohol, in a sense, because it's an altered state in it. I'd never actually experienced anything like that before, and this is what sort of drove that interest, and I started being like, oh, I wouldn't mind trying all these substances that alter my mind in these profound ways, because it's something a bit interesting from just, I don't know, watching anime and playing video games for like 10 years, which is what I basically did, and did YouTube as well. Obviously many of you will know, before I did the trip reports, I used to do a bridge series and just let's plays and that, and that was my first glimpse of success on the platform. I got up to like 2,500 subs before I got on hiatus. But yeah, basically, was at this rave and I took these dids. I had no idea how many to take. Obviously, everyone was like, you need to just take half. And I was like, go on then, I'll just take one, it'll be sound, won't it? And then obviously took another one, because I was like, oh, it's not working. Whew, bloody hell. That was the first time I'd ever hallucinated anything. I was hallucinating people walking through walls. Like this guy walked through a wall, the whole wall shattered, and then as I blinked, it literally fixed itself. Oh, no, not even fixed itself, it just go back to normal. It never even happened. I was seeing bats flying through the sky and that.
We can't stop here. This is bad country.
I was seeing people rolling, like, they were doing like somersaults, like hundreds of people doing somersaults into the rave tent. I was obviously absolutely munched out of my head and had no idea what was going on. And when you're on MDMA, you just take it as reality. And I remember everybody there who knew me from school was like, what the hell is this guy doing here? That guy who didn't speak to anyone, was just the most introverted, quiet, sort of like nerdy person, is now out here smashing dids in and listening to drum and bass and raving his head off. Well, although I wasn't even raving my head off, I was literally just like an absolute I was like a rolling zombie, basically, wired out my head. just literally wandering around being in awe of like, what the hell is this? My mind can hallucinate actual things. I'd heard about hallucinations, but actually being able to see them, and also feeling that loved up feeling of MDMA, the pleasurable body high and the feelings of love for everyone. I was like, whoa, what the hell? This is like, and that was when I fully broke out my shell and it was the sort of what made me the person I am now. Not saying anyone out there should do exactly what I did. I'm just saying this is my own personal journey. If anything, you need to be very, very cautious and conscious about MDMA usage. Don't be using it more than a handful of times, if not that. Like, don't be using it many times really in a year. This stuff can be seriously neurotoxic. Be very careful with this stuff and don't take high doses at all. And realistically, if you want to get into this stuff and you're being offered stuff like that, wait till someone offers you psychedelics, something a bit safer and a lower dose. Remember, I always insist this. Start low, build your way up, or don't at all. Just experiment. Just experiment as long as you can. You've got your whole life to do this. There's no need to go from like, right, I've just took 100 micrograms or 100 milligrams of MDMA, I'm going to take 500 milligrams. Don't be doing that anyway. That's absolutely ridiculous, and you don't want to hurt your mind or body. If you really care about consciousness work, don't be doing stuff like that. You've got to be careful. I've been through it all, and I can tell you, you'll really pat yourself on the back if you take this work and field as wisely as possible. And yeah, maybe wait until you have access to safe, clean, tested psychedelics and etc. And also, if you're in your teenage years, and even if you're under 21, I just suggest don't do any of this. Take an interest in it, research it, because it's equally as fascinating to hear about these things with trip reports and just exploring the history of psychedelics and altered states. And there's so many resources on the web, including content creators like me and all the other people, Josiekins, Adepts Psychonautica, Tales from the Trip, everybody, Loca, all the gang, Jake Knows Nothing, Gabe, find the others, all the gang in the Psychonautica panel. Like, take an interest in it, but be very, very cautious about how malleable your brain and body is when you're a youth, and don't mess it up, because you'll really end up biting yourself in the ass with it. So right, basically what was going on with that was, I took this Gary, and I was, oh my god, wide out my head, I'm seeing like Victorian people climbing trees and that. I remember seeing that at this party. So then I got sort of involved in sort of the rolling side of altered state of consciousness. I was taking lots of MDMA, which you don't be doing that. I'm telling you, don't be doing it every weekend. It's really not good, and you can turn out like some people I know where they literally give themselves serotonin syndrome. So then what ended up happening was, right, I'm going down the rabbit hole. What was next? I was then like, right, what's the next mind-altering substance I can take? It was salvia, because back in the day, in like 2014, salvia was you could legally buy it in head shops until it got outlawed, and along with all these other very dangerous things like synthetic cannabinoids. You could buy them literally down the street in this town near where I live. And one of my older mates was like, right, I'm going to buy you some salvia and slap it in his bong and see what happens to you. Probably not the best idea in hindsight, but it didn't go too bad. If you want to know more about that, check out my video, my first time smoking salvia. But that's when I really started to think like, whoa, there's more to this consciousness stuff than just this physical realm right here, because I experienced what it was like to live in that, to experience consciousness from a 2D plane. It was like my body was 3D, and then my visual field was just like that. Everything I'm seeing right now, it just went inverted, and it was like I was in a top-down sort of isometric game, but it didn't even have the illusion of 3D. It was literally just flat. It was just a two-dimensional thing. It's so weird. And that's when I was really just completely in it. I was in it now. I was completely in it, this whole rabbit hole of what the hell is consciousness, and I just kept going, exploring all these other substances. And then really when it started kickstarting is when I got into meditation and started exploring sort of actual, because I was a complete atheist for a very long time until my first ego death in 2017, which occurred on LSD and cannabis. Talked about that in the 2 trip report videos I've done. Again, if you want to know more information, please check out the personal stories playlist, because I don't really want to repeat myself here. I've already gone into major detail there. But So that moment, leading up to that, I'd been interested in religion. I studied religion in high school and I always found it really interesting. Took it on as one of my options in sixth form, and I was always found it fascinating just on a informational level rather than an actual connective tissue to what they're talking about. I never believed in God or deities or anything. I was like, oh, it's just the mind, or it's even just psychedelics producing this. But it's like, yeah, that's just one part of the puzzle, really, of what mysticism and spirituality and religions are all pointing towards and talking about. This goes way, I'm telling you right now, this is whatever you believe, fair enough, but the conclusion I've come to is that there is so much more to this life than this physical reality here, and the kickstart for that chain of thought was me when I was younger being like, if I am what I am, then what is this? Where do I start and reality ends? And now it just seems that there's a symbiotic relationship between consciousness and reality, almost like mind precedes matter. And I didn't really understand this. Obviously matter exists, matter's here, it's very much there, but where's it coming from? It seems like it's coming from a universal infinite mind that is empty but also full of everything at the same time. It's nothing, but it also contains, but since it is absolutely nothing, the substrate of it is nothing, it means it allows for everything to arise from it, because there's no limit on nothingness, is there? It means it can be anythingness. Oh God, we're opening a lot of can of worms in this. So then, yep, started getting more into sort of like meditation and spirituality after my first ego death, and being like, what the hell really was that? Because reality broke down. It was just, it all melted around me, and I had this profound sense of God, of source, of connection. I was like, oh my God, this is God, or whatever, or this is a glimpse of whatever these religions have been pointing to. It was the first time I broke out of like the atheistic, materialistic, dogmatic paradigm that I'd been brainwashed with my whole life. I brainwashed myself with through the sort of resources and information I'd use. I was big Richard Dawkins, and I was so egoic and judgmental of like these religious people. And obviously, again, I went to a Church of England primary school where they do really batter you with sort of the Christian dogma. Not in a, not really batter you, but like they're just instilling it on you, and it's very ridiculous. It can actually turn a lot of people who would take a lot of value out of spirituality and religious ideas and put them down the path that I went down. The introverted, I don't care about anything, it's all just atoms and that, whatever, everyone's stupid except me. And I think it really does sway a lot of youths from exploring something that's a deep, innate truth to who they really are, and that's exactly who I am. And yeah, I guess it was all part of the plan though. Yeah, every single thing in your life in the past sort of is building up to this literal moment now, the eternal now that is the present moment, which really is the only thing that I guess you can prove is happening. The future's, I guess I can't see the future, can't go back to the past, can I? The only thing I can really prove is that this is what's going on right now, which is great, and it's great to be cemented in the present moment. That's not to say you shouldn't think about your future and also contemplate your past and that. Don't forget the past and future so much you think, oh, it's not real in a sense. Like treat it as having significance. But yeah, where am I going with this? Right, so dialing back. So the first ego death, I was like, right, here we go. We are in it now, boys. We are in it for the win. I'm going to go seriously down the path, getting meditation in, exploring all these other things like sensory deprivation tanks. What really are the connective threads between all these religions? What the hell was that thing, that ego death that I actually experienced? What is it? And I remember I didn't even know what an ego death was. I remember just typing on Google, like, took some LSD, everything started melting, started thinking about the universe and that. Or felt like I had a cosmic orgasm on psychedelics. Anyone help? And I just kept going all these threads on Blue Light, on Reddit, everywhere, Eroid, and just try to find trip reports and other people's experiences were akin to my own. And that's when I stumbled across the word ego death, or the term ego death. And then that allowed my mind to make the connective tissue between, oh, what they go on about these breakthroughs and mystical experiences, and I'd learnt about religious experiences and awakenings in RE, in religious education in school, and that's when I really started putting the pieces together, connecting the dots and realising, what did I actually experience? It was consciousness beyond the finite, limited self that is my ego, my personality, who I am, what Vivec is, this limited, constrained form. And yeah, ever since that moment I've been on this path, and it's been the most beautiful thing ever, and it's led me to eventually, using all my life experiences as a very normal guy. I don't have any like academic background in psychedelics or the study, but I'm just someone who's really interested in it and passionate about it and wants to share everything that I've learnt about life, reality and myself with the world, and hopefully get other people inspired to do the same as well. If you get like this stuff, do the same. I know lots of you are really intelligent, insightful, wise people. Get your story shared. Give your own give your own piece on this whole sphere of psychedelia and mysticism and everything, and entities and all this mad stuff that we talk about. I'm sure you have lots of insightful, wise tidbits of information that I've never thought of or even experienced. Like, my actual experience of psychedelics is very small in comparison to some of the people that I talk to on Instagram and even my other content creators. Realistically, my whole life for the past few years has been dedicated on this YouTube and sharing other people's experiences, my own commentary, and being just trying to be the most pure possible advocate of this content that I can, because it's really important, I think, in this day and age where the psychedelic renaissance is happening once again. Go check out the Psychonautica panel where we talked about that. It's very much here, and I want to be a part of it, and I want to help people who are interested into it get into it as safely and wisely as possible. And yeah, stuff like what I'm doing and all the other people that are involved in this field are doing is having a great help, and you can be a part of it as well. Get involved. It's not just about these like rigorous scientific people who are investigating psychedelics, which is amazing, and it always has been amazing. I respect every single person from the beginning of the scientific study of psychedelics to where it is right now. But you as an individual person, an average person like me, can get involved and make a difference and be a part of this blossoming, beautiful thing that we call the psychedelic culture of the internet era, basically. And yeah, I don't really know anything else I can say regarding my personal interest in psychedelics, but I think it all stems down to, if I can sum it up, it's that I had an interest in what is this? What is reality? What is consciousness? What is the universe? Well, there's some weird noises coming from that field over there. I probably incited the wrath of the kami that inhabit the fields of this quaint little village. But yeah, it really just comes down to, do I care about understanding reality? Do I care about the truth? I wouldn't even say I'm a truth seeker, but I care about understanding truth. I'm interested in it. I'm fascinated. I love it. Do you love it? Do you love finding out what you are, what this is, and how far are you going to go with it? Sometimes there's going to be a point where it scares you. I've gotten to that point, not scares me, but I've gotten to a point where I'm like, whoa, I've experienced a lot of mystical stuff for someone my age and my experience with life. I really need to just dial back and get, like I said earlier in the video, get some other foundational levels of my life sorted before I get back into it. And I would like to get back deep into the psychedelic realms and the astral planes and that, but right now I think a lot of my focus in my late 20s is just establishing myself on here and doing the best I possibly can for other people, and then say maybe in my 30s I'm going to get back into psychedelics and hardcore spiritualism as well. But yeah, for now I just want to let you all know that I love you all very much. Thank you for giving me this platform to share all these profound insights, and raise awareness of the beauty of these chemicals, and hopefully to help people use them in a safe way and reduce any harm, and to educate what is a growing demographic for psychedelics is the youth, isn't it? Because now they're exposed to it more than ever through the internet, social media, and the Pandora's box has been opened in a sense. This is a brilliant thing that Jesse Michaels said on his interview, his conversation with Kurt from Theories of Everything. He said that what else was in Pandora's box other than the implications of opening this crazy ass treasure chest full of the wonders and horrors of reality. There was hope within it, and we've opened Pandora's box of psychedelics and mysticism, and we're still figuring it all out and getting a better understanding of it. But no matter the hurdles that may come up, there will always be hope that this will be a great tool for resolving trauma, elevating the consciousness of mankind, connecting us all, because God knows we're all very divided. Psychedelics are an amazing tool, and they're also a very profound and dangerous tool that we need to use with caution, and that's why we've got to wise up and do stuff like what I'm doing. I'm not more important than you can do it as well. There is no importance being placed on me by me saying that. I'm just saying that we're all in this together. Let's all hold hands and get a bit mushied up, because Lord knows you can have a pretty good time doing that. So right, we're rambling, but hope you've learned something about me and the trajectory of my life through this video, and hope it gives you a better understanding of where I'm coming from and why I say the things I do and the insights that I share. Yeah, if you'd like to support the channel, please check me out on Patreon. Donate to me on Ko-fi, is it Ko-fi? I don't fucking know. Become a YouTube member, or don't at all. Like I've stressed before, nothing will stop me from keeping making this content, even if in the very worst case I get demonetized, because Lord knows there's some strange things happening on YouTube at the minute. I'll still continue to do this because I know that it means a lot to you guys and impacts people's lives in a positive way. And yeah, see you on the other side.